All right, I'll say good day. This transmission has been titled The Silent Season. What we mean by this is that now you are going through a passage from one cycle to another, from the idea of arranging energy, arranging activities to pass from where you have been to where you are going, to enter 2026, the year of disclosure, in a way that will help accelerate and bring this about. So, in this transmission, we will provide an exercise, a meditation, specifically designed to allow all the elements that are required, all the elements that are necessary to help accelerate you toward disclosure, toward open contact, and bring them into alignment so that that reality can more easily manifest, so that you can provide the organized energy that will allow that reality to crystallize. This exercise is part of the Interstellar Alliance social experiment, one of the final steps in it that will allow disclosure and open contact to come forward, to bloom, to blossom in your society in the most efficient way for the benefit of all. So, the silent season is a way of describing how you will simply use energy to go within, to do this meditation, to bring this acceleration about quietly, in a sense behind the scenes, through the winter, into your spring, not so much engaging outwardly with the sociology or the politics of your time, but to carry you through quietly, silently, powerfully, as an undercurrent, to slip through from one reality to another, one season to another, in silence, outwardly, but inwardly, in great activity, in great energy, with great momentum, great movement. This meditation we will deliver at the end of this transmission will allow you, at any time you wish, to arrange all the elements that are important to allow disclosure and open contact to manifest in relatively short order. So, your participation is now of paramount importance, critical importance, by allowing this energy to be arranged in a way that will serve humanity in its evolutionary course, on its evolutionary path toward becoming full-fledged members of our galactic family. Allow yourself in this silent season to be within your homes, with your family and your friends, at this time, in this passage, in this quiet knowingness, in this quiet but powerful energy, like the undercurrents in the ocean. Though the surface may seem serene, or the surface may seem chaotic, it is the undercurrents deep, deep within that move things forward, that move things along, that propel events into being. So it is with this energy deep down within your soul that you will now be capable of bringing about the manifestation of the reality, accelerating it through this meditative exercise of alignment and arrangement. So join us today. Add your energy. When all of you, whoever you may be, are listening to this meditation today and doing it at the same time we are delivering it, it will have a powerful effect with that many of you doing it all at once at the same time in listening to this meditation. It will be a lever, a sea change that will move things forward in the most efficient way. So participate and allow the manifestation of the outcome that will serve humanity best with respect to engaging with all of us so that we may welcome all of you into our family. You are of the stars. Reclaim your birthright. The energy of this meditation will allow you to do so. Quietly, serenely, beautifully, artistically, and powerfully. So join us today, all of you, all at once. You will be an unstoppable force to bring about that reality, to crystallize it into being. We thank you for your willingness, as we have answered your call to answer ours, to join with us, to allow us to join with you, hand in hand, one family in the cosmos, for all time. In return for the gift of allowing us to deliver this meditation to you today, I ask, how may we continue to be of service to you at this time? Please begin with your questions and dialogues, if you wish.
Hi, Bashar. My question is that I just recently started to communicate with my spirit team, and sometimes I use my light language, but the thing is that my conscious mind doesn't understand it. So is there any tools I can use to improve my communication so I will understand them better? And is it possible for me to see more things in the future besides just feeling the presence? Or is it maybe just part of my soul contract that I'm not meant to see? And if so, can I change my soul contract, or can we change in any time our soul contract? Thank you.
No, you cannot change your soul contract, but I'm not saying that that is part of your soul contract, is to not see them. So the idea is you can improve that ability. It is not eliminated or forbidden in your soul contract to do so, even though you cannot change your soul contract. But the idea is that light language is simply the receiving of channeled energy, channeled information that is not being translated into your brain into language that you understand. So it's kind of like the raw form of channeling that doesn't translate into any particular language on Earth. You can continue to use it that way to create tonalities that can help people by creating vibrations that they can match that will allow them to upgrade themselves, heal themselves, do a variety of things. But if you wish to have more of a literal understanding or a translation, then it may be important for you to have people actually asking you questions rather than just using it to enhance your connection to a spirit team. So the idea is that, again, if you ground the information in the people asking the questions, then you may be able to practice having a certain center of your brain start to learn how to translate the light language into actual physical human languages by practicing, by having people ask questions, and then you just keep practicing how to allow it to translate into language to give them the information that they seek through you. So you can do it that way. Or in a meditative state, for about 15 to 20 minutes in the morning or the evening when it's quiet. You can have a journal and you can ask your spirit team for information. You can ask your own questions, ask them out loud, and then just see what you get and write down in the journal, physically write down in the journal whatever it is you get. It may start out seeming nonsensical, but that's all right. Do this for 2 to 3 weeks. You will start seeing patterns, and this can help you practice allowing that area of your brain that can translate light language into physical language to gain more experience by doing it this way, by writing it down in a journal.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I have a question about what is happening in our bodies as our vibration increases. Are there physical changes happening in our brain? Are there physical changes happening in our heart or
Yes.
other parts of our body?
Yes, especially in the brain, because it rewires itself to be capable of flowing energy and thoughts in a more efficient way and accessing more information. So anytime you raise your vibration, you literally become a physical better receiver, a better antenna to receive higher frequency information from your spirit team. It's also aligning your chakra system, your energy systems in your body, all your meridians, things like that. It is improving your health in general by allowing cellular function to function more efficiently throughout your body, delivering the nutrients that it needs. The idea, therefore, being that by raising your vibration, it's not only energetically beneficial, but physiologically beneficial to you as well, to allow your physical form to be a better representation of what your soul has created as the experiential modality for having a physical experience. So it makes you a more efficient experiencer of all that you can experience in physical reality that will allow you to act on your passion and be of service to others.
So, on a day-to-day basis, just in our lives, as our vibration is increasing, yeah, you've talked before about how we'll be more connected and we'll be able to get more guidance. But will it also affect our thoughts and our emotions and our beliefs? Like, will we start thinking differently, or will some of our
Yes.
negative thoughts just automatically start dropping? Will our beliefs
Well,
shift?
yes, because again, remember, all emotions, thoughts, and behaviors come from what you believe to be true. And if you understand that you are operating on a much higher level of energy, then only the things that are commensurate with that level of energy can really come through. It doesn't mean you are unaware of the possibility that negative things can be chosen, but it becomes less likely. It simply makes no sense. There is a kind of momentum and an inertia that starts to build up so that it would actually eventually become more challenging to choose the negative, because it would be so unlike the vibrational frequency that you're operating at that it would simply make no sense for you to choose it. So while you're not invalidating the idea of the negative as a choice, you simply realize that it simply makes no sense for you to choose it. It just doesn't seem logical.
Okay, thank you. I also have a question about the 100th monkey effect, which basically says once you get a critical mass of people, you end up at a tipping point where
Yeah.
it causes change in the rest of the group. So in the case of individuals raising their vibration, if enough people raise their vibration, is that going to cause a 100th monkey effect, in that it will all of a sudden just spread to the rest of humanity and they'll kind of jump up through no effort of their own?
The allowance is what will allow them to choose that more easily, because the energy is now available to them. It doesn't cause them to change. It allows them to change should they decide to do so. So it does create more allowance. It does create more opportunity and option for them to change, because it's like if you look at a fluid and you start adding a color to it, eventually the clear fluid becomes that color in totality. So it's the same idea. You're pouring energy of a certain frequency into the collective whole, and therefore that energy, that frequency, that color becomes more available to everyone should they decide to move in that direction. So yes, it makes it easier. It can tip the scales in that way for those that are seeking that. And therefore, by making it more available, then it's easier for them to choose that. It's easier for them to recognize that it's there for them as a choice.
So you've said before that there's already hybrids here.
Yes.
Are the hybrids also contributing to that as far as putting
Absolutely.
new possibilities out there for everybody to pick up on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Why do you think that you're already seeing more discussions about things like disclosure, even in your governmental institutions, even in your military and political institutions? Why do you think now it's okay all of a sudden to talk about UFOs without ridicule, without losing your job, without damaging your careers? Why do you think you are seeing certain kinds of progress being made in things like vibrational medicine, genetic medicine, other technological advances? This is all because of the energy and also due to certain physical actions of the hybrids that are embedded in your society, helping to move humanity forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You are very welcome.
Hi, Bashar. I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the information that you're imparting and all the knowledge that you're giving us. My question today is specifically focused on repeating patterns and seeing echoes. So I do remember you mentioning that sometimes you do get a chance to level up and there is a echo that gets repeated with the similar pattern coming back, and that is exactly what happened to me. I had an ex-lover come back and it was the exact same pattern in the same demographic, just everything was same. The issue is I didn't react to it differently, and I did want to change my timeline on a conscious level, but I think my limited beliefs did not let me do it on a subconscious level. So what happens in this situation when I do want to change into a different parallel reality? I do want love, I do want a more healthy relationship, but my response, has it shown the universe that I'm not ready and that I don't want to shift? Please let me know. Thank you.
Well, that just takes more self-investigation to find out what belief system you're holding on to that doesn't allow you to respond differently to the same scenario that existed in your life previously. So you have to ask once again, what am I getting out of not letting this go? What am I getting out of not changing my response to this? And because you have to be believing you're getting something out of staying where you are. So it's all about taking the time, that's fine, no hurry, no rush, taking the time to investigate more deeply what is the core belief that makes it seem like you should not let go of it, that you should not change your response or your reaction to what's going on around you in life. So you have to do some more self-investigation, find out what that belief is that you believe you need to hold on to because for some reason you think it gives you a benefit that's better than the alternative. There is something about the alternative you're still more afraid of than simply holding on to what you are already doing, even as uncomfortable as it may be.
Hi, Bashar. Thank you for your service.
Good day, good day.
I'd just like to know about twin flames. How does 2027 influence twin flame contracts? Will people be able to recognize each other? And would you be able to tell me if I have such a contract?
First of all, the idea of twin flames, while it simply represents an agreement to attract another member of your soul family into your life in a way that allows you each to serve each other to the point where you can really become more of your true selves. While those agreements do exist, we don't usually prefer to put a lot of emphasis on that concept because there is a misunderstanding of that concept for many members of your society. and allows them, because they're so focused on just attracting this one particular person, to not necessarily allow themselves to take advantage of the benefits that could be coming from all the other people in your life that you have made agreements to interact with. So while it's possible that as you increase your vibration, it will be easier for you to attract the people that will reflect to you what you need to know to become more of who you are, while you do the same for them, and that's what you're referring to as a twin flame. The important thing is to understand that every single person that comes into your life at that moment is your soulmate, is your twin flame, because the person you're interacting with at any given moment is the one that is reflecting to you at that moment whatever the most important thing is you need to know to become more of who you are, if you use the relationship that way as it's been designed. And they are also most likely other members of your soul family. So again, yes, as you increase your vibration, you will attract more people that will help you do this. But at the same time, don't just single out the idea of a twin flame as only one individual being capable of giving you what you need.
Okay. I'll also like to know if I have any hybrid children, and if so, how many?
Yes, you do, but understand that your DNA has been used in the creation of hundreds, if not thousands, of hybrids. So when you say, how many do I have? We remind you that the only reason we give you this answer is because maybe somewhere between 15 to 27 or 30 have a higher percentage of your DNA, and in a sense, you could consider them to be yours, although none of them have as much as 50% of your DNA.
Okay, thank you so much. And I'd like to know, would you be able to tell me what is my vibrational frequency range that I'm currently at, and if that is good enough for contact?
It is good enough for contact, or we wouldn't be having this conversation. On average, you're hovering somewhere between 60 and 80,000 cycles per second.
Thank you so much. And I have a question that is from my daughter. She was in a dreamlike state, and she saw a gray, and she also a Pleiadian approached her. She believes it was a Pleiadian with an M-shaped long rod that he inserted in her arm 3 times, and the 3rd time it scraped her bone, and she's just wondering what that meant, or what was that about.
Again, this is 2 things. Number 1, the extraction of DNA, because the idea is that this travels in family lines, and your daughter is part of the hybridization program as well. So not only the extraction of DNA, but also an adjustment genetically, something inserted to help adjust the genetics to make her more vibrationally compatible with the hybrids that will come to live among you.
Okay, and why is it that she can recall such things when I don't recall anything?
Because she is closer to the idea of being in spirit, because children in this day and age on your planet are already hybridized and closer to the vibration that will be necessary for them to be capable of interacting with extraterrestrials and spirits. So she has more ability to do that by being of a younger generation.
Okay, thank you so much, Bashar. That's all I wanted to ask.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Bashar. Thank you for taking the time to receive my question. My name is Maya. Lately, I've been thinking about how my name is very much connected to the Pleiadian constellation. It is spelled like the star named Maya. I want to know more about that. Why do I feel so connected? Also, my middle name is Estelle, which means star. So, what's the tea?
Well, again, like many humans, you do have extraterrestrial connections, and in your case, obviously, mostly Pleiadian ones, because you are downloading and drawing from that energy to live your life. So all you have to do is continue to apply it by acting on your passion, knowing that you have created in this life plan of yours a energetic connection that allows you to remain true to yourself, stand firm in your truth, and move forward acting on your passion in service to humanity by connecting to the energy of the Pleiadian civilization and system. Good day, good day.
Hello, Bashar. It's so wonderful to interact with you. This is so exciting.
And for us as well. What would you like to discuss?
I was really intrigued when I heard a video where you had said that your people don't have memory the way that humans do. And as someone who's kind of always struggled with having a poor memory, I was really intrigued by that and wanted to learn more about how you do that. So maybe I can utilize some of that as well and neutralize that issue for myself.
All right. Well, it requires living fully in the moment and knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that whatever information is truly necessary for you to know in that moment will come to you. You are accessing it in real time, so to speak. So the idea is to know that you are always tapped in to the information that exists, that is embedded in the fabric of space-time. This is what you humans usually refer to as the Akashic records of past, present, and future information that all exists simultaneously. It's all embedded in the very fabric of existence itself and is thoroughly accessible by any of you. All you have to be is the frequency of the information that you seek. And the way to do that is to simply have the intention to know that whatever you need at the moment will be there. Not a second before you need it, but not a second after you need it. It will be there in perfect timing. It will come to you in some way, shape, or form. Now, that doesn't mean it will necessarily always come to you as a thought in your head or a word in your mind. It may come to you through some sort of physical interaction, through synchronicity, or something showing up that reminds you of something that then creates the thought you needed or the information you needed at that particular moment. So in addition to living in the moment, knowing that you will receive what information you need for whatever's going on at that moment, you also have to be open to, whether you know about them or not, all the different ways that information can actually come to you in life, because it can be delivered in a number of different ways. So don't place an assumption or a limitation on exactly how you're supposed to receive the information. Just know that you will know what you need to know when you need to know it. And it will come to you in some way, shape, or form that you will then recognize as the delivery mechanism when it occurs.
Okay. So then if I don't know something, like if I can't recall something or I can't remember if someone told me something, does that mean I don't really need to know that information at that time?
That's possible. Or again, you're not necessarily allowing it to come to you in a way that is the path of least resistance. You may still be assuming or insisting that it should come to you in a particular way. Now, of course, you don't have to overcomplicate this. Sometimes the path of least resistance is to simply be willing to ask someone what the information is. And that may have to do with the idea that it might be more important for you to interact with someone in order to get the information. And that can be one of the ways the information gets delivered, not because the information itself was that important, but because interacting with that person that can give you the information may actually be the more important thing. You follow?
Yeah. So then even forgetting something might actually be serving me in some way if it causes me to go looking for the information or interacting with people.
Exactly. Because it can institute a process that will give you other information you may not have known you needed.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So stay positive no matter how it occurs, and allow yourself to take the actions necessary that represent the path of least resistance in accessing that information. If it's simply not available anywhere in your physical reality through any kind of interaction, then it will come in some other way. But if it is accessible along the path of least resistance, which means it's available to you in your physical reality if you would only act like it is and pursue that action, then you will see that there is other reasons why it may have needed to be done that way.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then my second question is about like ghosts. And I've heard you say that when people pass away, they pass back into spirit, they become their full selves again. And so then I'm like, well, what about ghosts and hauntings? And do people need help crossing over? Is that a real thing?
Not exactly. Now, there are such things as spirits of a lower vibration because they may be sticking closer for some reason to the earth vibration and therefore are perceivable by your senses as ghosts, but they may not actually, in a sense, be haunting something in the classical sense. They may simply be revisiting a place that they were fond of. They may be trying to get a message through to someone that they think is important, and therefore they're remaining in a closer vibration to physical reality in order to be capable of doing so, should someone be sensitive enough to pick up on them and be able to deliver that message either to an individual or to humanity in general, to help humanity understand that they are also spirit beings. So it can be for a number of reasons. No soul is ever really stuck in any way, shape, or form, but some may choose certain things because they have unfinished business. They may simply be of a state of being where they want to enjoy that particular area of physical reality again, sort of nostalgically revisiting it. So there can be a number of reasons why you might perceive a spirit that you call a ghost, because they've arranged their vibrational frequency low enough so that they can actually in some way participate in that physical reality experience.
Okay. And so I have friends who can see ghosts, and like when they were young, it was like kind of traumatic for them. Is that just because they didn't understand what was going on?
Well, yes, unless for some reason they were interacting with a spirit of a lower vibration that is often referred to as a prankster spirit. They can be a little bit mischievous, but they're never really harmful. They're just trying to get your attention for a variety of different reasons. So you can just treat them as sort of a mischievous person in that sense, but you can also tell them, look, this is not something that I prefer to engage with. Please do not interact with me in that way, and they will go away. So, but mostly it has to do with the idea of the way that humans are taught about these things amplifies the fear within you about encountering those things. And it's a combination of not necessarily having been taught how to deal with it, and also a combination of a bodily physiological reaction to a higher vibration that allows the brain to feel like it's about to die because it's being exposed to a higher vibration of spirit, and it interprets that as, I need to go into survival mode. I need to go into fight or flight mode. So it's a combination of a physiological reaction to a higher vibration and also a lack of knowledge about your relationship to the idea of spirits.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Bashar. This has been incredibly helpful. Thank you so much for this interaction. Love you.
You are so very welcome.
Hi, Bashar. My name's Megan, and I channeled for the first time this week. And so many entities and personalities came through, but it was very chaotic and unstable, and we just didn't get very many cohesive sentences. So can you tell me if there's one entity I'm supposed to be looking for, or a specific structure or purpose for my very exciting newfound ability? Thank you.
It is not uncommon for various aspects of your own personality to be present and suddenly come to the forefront when you begin to channel. This is quite ordinary. Eventually, as you continue to practice over time, giving information to people who are asking questions, it will solidify and it will engage your own higher mind. It will start, if you've made an agreement with another entity, it will start to crystallize into a particular entity or set of entities that you will then recognize as the primary entities that you can telepathically connect to and bring information through from. But at first, yes, it may seem a little jumbled and chaotic because you're attempting to find order and organization in the different aspects of your own human personality that have to come together and harmonize and synthesize into one expression so that you become more coherent and cohesive within yourself, and thus a better, shall we say, conduit, a better valve for the idea of another single entity being able to come through once you have pulled yourself together, so to speak.
Hi. Thank you, Bashar, for speaking to me today. I appreciate it.
It is our passion and our pleasure. What would you like to discuss?
So you know, I thought about it in this last week before I spoke to you, and it was just something that I felt like was so intense for me to talk about. But, it's basically about once I started learning about channeling and feeling like I wanted to be part of something, I want to strengthen my intuition. I want to know what it'll take for me since I'm not trusting. So, I want to know, I want to connect with my spirit guides or angels or,
All right. All right. What is it that you are not trusting? Because you're always trusting in something to be true. So what is it that you are trusting in would be the question.
So I trust my love for my children, but I feel that's unconditional in a way. But um, I don't have a lot of trust in um, myself, I guess,
All right. So what you are saying is you are trusting in a version of yourself that isn't actually you.
Right.
Why?
I don't know. I feel like I'm a chameleon, I would call myself. I always adapt to people's personalities, and I feel like, um, you know, if they're hurting, I listen. If they're, wanting to tell me something, I'm always there. I feel like I'm always there for everybody else in survival mode, and I'm just not believing like I can help them and that's what I want to know. Like, what is my purpose in life? I just want to know how to help people and trust myself to do it and be able to love myself more and to be able to do that for other people.
In the moments when these people come to you and you align your energy with them in a way that allows you to understand with empathy what it is they are going through, what is it that you do with them? What is it that you say to them in those moments? And has anything that you've ever said apparently made them feel better at any time?
Yes.
Then don't you understand that in those moments you are helping? Don't you understand that in those moments you are being more of your full self? Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming to you. You wouldn't be giving them information that could help them. Don't you understand that in those moments you are being who you truly are?
I think it affects me so much how, I try to be there for everyone and I'm always thinking about everybody else. But in a way, it's like it's caused me some physical damage, physical pain.
No, it hasn't. The only reason you are experiencing the physical pain is because you are lowering your vibration for some particular reason. In helping someone and being there for them, that can never cause pain, because in those moments you are being your true self. You are being in your power, and therefore that's why you can deliver information to them that helps them, that they're willing to take, that they're willing to help themselves with. The idea is that you have attached to that act something else, another perspective, another belief system that then allows you to lower your vibration and experience difficulty or pain or struggle. So the question is, if you understand that you are loving yourself and being yourself in the moments you are helping them, that is your true self, why would then, as a result of doing that for them in a beneficial way, would you decide and choose to lower your vibration in order to feel struggle, strife, and pain?
Right.
Why? What reason do you have to do that instead of simply staying in the state you were in when you were helping them?
Maybe because I feel like I didn't do enough.
Exactly. A perfect answer. I am going to tell you that whatever it is you do for someone else in that way, however it is, you are of help to that person. It is absolutely enough. You are not expected to do any more than that. It is up to you to decide what it is that's appropriate for you to share with them in that state. It's up to them to decide how much of it to adapt into their lives. That's not your responsibility. It's none of your business what they do with it. So when you say, I want to make sure it's enough, understand that the very act of them coming to you and the very act of you giving them any perspective at all that might be capable of allowing them, if they're choosing to adopt it into their lives, to improve their lives in any way, shape, or form, is absolutely enough. And that's all that you're responsible to them for. You are not responsible for them, nor responsible to them to be anything other than what you are in that moment that you are offering whatever degree of help your intuition is capable of offering them. And that is absolutely sufficient. Now, I'm not saying that over time you may not improve your ability to give them other information in addition to what you've already been doing that can be of help to them as well, and maybe improve your ability to be able to give them more information that they could use, but it's still going to be up to them to decide whether or not to use it, because you can't help or heal anyone if they are resistant to using what you give them in their lives. That's up to them. So whatever it is at any given moment that you're capable of giving them is absolutely of benefit. Whether they use it today, tomorrow, next year, 100 years from now, isn't your call. Whatever you have given them is enough at that moment, because that's what you're capable of giving them now. It doesn't mean you won't improve. It doesn't mean you won't get better. It doesn't mean you won't be able to access more information later on. But the way you do that is by simply continuing to do what it is you're already doing, and just get better at it and get more intuition and inspiration in delivering information to them. If you start doubting yourself and start trusting in the negativity of not believing you're doing enough, you are going to slow down the entire process of your capability of improving yourself to help them more and more. And that's counterintuitive and counterproductive to what it is you're already doing for them. Do you understand?
Yes.
Does this help you?
Yes.
You
Yes,
are enough. Just be yourself, whatever that means in the moment when you are engaged with someone and helping them out. That's enough at that moment. It's exactly what that moment is for, and what you have put into it because of your intention to be of service and be of assistance is absolutely at that moment enough. If more is required by staying in the state where you know that what you're doing is enough, you will be more capable of receiving other guidance from your spirit guides and your spirit team, and you will know what else that needs to be done or said in that moment. But if you're constantly trusting in the negative idea that what you're doing is not enough, you close off the channels through which you could be receiving more information to be of help. Do you understand?
So I need to be more receptive and trust.
You need to know that you are doing enough, because that state is what will allow you to receive more that you can then do.
Right.
Otherwise, if you say, I'm not doing enough, you literally close the channel through which you could be receiving more information to do more.
Right. Okay.
So just understand that you're doing enough, and that your purpose is to simply be yourself. And that's all it takes. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink it. Just do whatever it is you can do in the moment that someone engages you, and know that you have done exactly what you need to do, and that's enough, and move on. All right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So hi Bashar, I'm sending my regards from Slovakia, and I have a question regarding food and pranic food and the nourishment and transition towards pranic food. So if there is any guidance we can get how to navigate this transition. I know since I'm a child that there are people in our society that exist. They do pranic food, and since I'm a child, I'm just interested in these qualities of these spiritual people just functioning on light. And yeah, if you could please guide us if there are any informations we can get to navigate towards maybe this possibility.
Do not focus on the idea of not needing food. But as you raise your vibration by following the formula, by acting on your passion, which raises your frequency, you will simply find over time that you will lose the urge for certain foods that may be denser than the vibration you prefer. But let it happen naturally. Don't insist, don't strive for that idea. Just go and act on your passion in service to others, and over time, you will start to lighten your diet bit by bit. But again, don't judge yourself. Let your body consciousness tell you exactly what you need, and don't assume that just because you need a certain thing doesn't mean you're not advancing spiritually. It's all about how you do it and what the relationship is you form to whatever food you might be needing to ingest, as opposed to not having that food at all. So form the relationship that is more natural, more respectful, more organic, and move forward, and just let food drop away naturally as you raise your vibration by losing the urge to have that thing. Eventually, in time, not necessarily in your lifetime, humanity will learn to absorb energy more directly from light and the cosmos, but that's not happening anytime soon. There may be certain individuals who may achieve that sooner than others, but again, that's not necessarily a goal. The idea is to act on your passion in service to humanity and let all of the things that are connected to that happen organically in a natural way in the timing in which they need to happen.
Good day, Bashar. My question is, how do you release any fear associated with contacting and communicating with your guides? I went to an energy healer earlier this year, a quantum energy healer, and I did not know that after that healing I would be opened up more psychically. And when I was contacted after that, I was very surprised, and it scared me and it overwhelmed me, and I shut down some sight and sound senses, and since then I've been having difficulty receiving those messages. I can still physically feel things in my body. I can feel a presence, but I'm not sure how to turn these other sensations back on. Any advice would be really appreciated. Thank you.
All right. Well, first of all, your guides understand your reaction, and they're going to work with you gently to bring you back up into the ability to receive more information from them. But they understand it can be a little overwhelming at first if you're not used to receiving their high frequency energy and that vibration of spirit. Remember, as we have said, a lot of times your bodily reaction to that higher frequency of spirit creates in your brain, in your body, the idea that being exposed to that vibration means that you are somehow about to die. It feels that way to certain aspects of your body consciousness. Not that you actually are going to die, but you can react by going into survival mode. by pulling away, by going into fight or flight. So the idea is to relax into the understanding that you cannot die before you agreed to leave the earth anyway, but that this is simply your way of practicing getting used to operating on a higher frequency. So there is no rush, there is no hurry. Your guides are going to work with you, and at whatever pace you are comfortable with, to slowly bring you back a little bit at a time, like sticking your toe in the water and then your whole foot, then your leg, so on and so forth, in increments you can handle. But at first you were given the whole rush so that you would understand what vibration you are heading toward, but you can do it at a pace that works for you, that you're comfortable with, until you get used to the idea that you're not going to die by being exposed to that spiritual frequency, and that you can, shall we say, call the shots at how fast or how slow you literally ramp back up into that frequency on your own terms. So your guides are willing to listen to you, and you can say, that's enough for now. I'll do some more later, and you can get used to it a little step at a time. Take your baby steps, that's fine. Don't worry about it. You'll get back to that vibration exactly when you need to. This is your lesson. This is your challenge. Just go through the process in your own way, on your own terms, knowing that your guides are perfectly willing to work with you according to what you say is comfortable.
Bashar, thank you so much for speaking to me.
It is our passion and our pleasure. What would you like to discuss this day?
I believe a while ago that you had said that the Greys preferred to interact with people who perhaps have addiction or obsession issues. And I'm wondering if you might expand on that.
Well, saying that they prefer to interact with them might be a little bit of an exaggeration or a misunderstanding. The idea is that it's important for them to learn why those things happen. In other words, to study people who go into those kinds of obsessive or addictive behaviors, to make sure that that is something they will avoid in the creation of the hybrid beings. To understand the psychology of why that occurs in humans is important to them for the hybridization program, so they can make sure that that doesn't exist in the hybrids that they're creating. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. So the other question that I wanted to ask you, well, I had several. You also said about the time that we're coming to of no more secrets, no more toxic secrets in society.
Yes.
And I was wondering, there's other things that are somewhat like adjacent to that. For example, our whole society seems to be constructed around a lot of open secrets, or things that are just dishonest and based around like denial and lies, basically.
Yes.
So how does that figure into the time of no more secrets? Will there also be like no more lies?
In a sense, it doesn't mean that you necessarily share all information if it's not appropriate. But the idea is there will no longer, within 2 to 3 decades at most, any reason for people to hold back information that they understand may be of benefit to humanity. And therefore, it will be a much more open dialogue about things, but that doesn't mean you have to share every personal item with every single other individual.
Right, but I don't mean especially in terms of like the disclosures of things that were hidden. I mean about like open secrets that we have now, where there are things that seem to me very obvious, like a lot of corruption, not just in any one particular country, but just it seems to me that a lot of things seem very obvious to me, and nothing is done.
Yes. But that's what we're talking about as well. In 2 to 3 decades at the most, humanity will realize, especially after open contact and the options that are now available to humanity from what extraterrestrials will be capable of providing for you, that it will simply be unnecessary to function that way. Okay. Everyone will have enough. Everyone will have access to whatever they need. There will no longer be behavior based on fear.
Okay, that's good to know. So one other question that I had for you, I believe that you've said that the founders is a name that we use for the mantis beings, perhaps?
It's one of the names that they are referred to in many different ways, from different cultures, from different civilizations.
Right. So, and I think you have said at some time that there is one specific being known as the founder.
Not exactly, although again, that can be a reference to a being that might, in a sense, in your language, be in charge of a particularly large program and oversee that program and handle all the elements and organize all the elements of that program on a cosmic scale.
Is that part of the hybrid agenda, or is that something larger?
It's part of the hybridization agenda and part of something larger.
So is he necessarily a mantis being, or is he something else?
It is a mantis being, but there are also other kinds of beings involved in the things that we're now talking about that we haven't discussed before and are not allowed to discuss yet.
Okay. I just thought you might be able to spill a little bit more beans. One last question, if I may.
One moment.
Sorry.
All right, we are allowed to give you one hint. We have discussed already the idea of the seventh hybrid race referred to as the Anuhet. In some cases, the Anuhet are also in the position we have just discussed in the future.
As the founder being?
As a founder being.
Huh.
They will be responsible for 100,000 years of peace within your Milky Way galaxy. And as such, they will require a large founder being to help organize all of that from a much higher level. And that will be, to some degree, an extension of the Anuhet.
That's amazing. That's
Anything
really
else?
astonishing. That's great. I had one other little brief question, but after what you've just told me, it's kind of like my breath is taken away. So I almost can't even ask that.
All right, it's up to you.
You've said so many times that the hybrid agenda participation runs in families and that it goes in bloodlines.
Yes.
And to my knowledge, I don't believe anyone in my family other than possibly my brother is impacted by this, to my knowledge.
To your knowledge.
But do you think that they are?
Some of them are.
Okay. But they just don't have any awareness or interest in it at all?
They may not. That doesn't always necessarily matter. It's about what it is they may contribute to the hybridization program that is essential without necessarily having it interfere with their lives in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, but my brother was involved also?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bashar. I appreciate you.
You are so welcome. Our deep appreciation to you as well.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Bashar. Lucia here. I'm thinking about the hybrids who are going to be the first revealed to us at Open Contact, and I'm wondering how they're going to prove their true identity to us, because there will be people who won't believe them and who will just think they're regular old humans like the rest of us. So, thank you. Cheers.
We're not allowed to say much about this, but I guarantee you, you will be able to tell the difference between a human and a hybrid extraterrestrial. There will be ways they have of demonstrating to you their abilities, which will be beyond, shall we say, a shadow of a doubt as to who they are. So don't worry about it. There will be no confusion. Now, some people may not still wish to believe them. They may think it's a trick. But if you're open to it, you will recognize that there is no way that you will not know who they are if you are willing to recognize what it is they will demonstrate to you as not being a trick, but actually being an ability that they all possess. That's all we're allowed to say at this particular moment.
Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
So happy to be with you again and to share all these wonderful questions that are coming from our viewers.
All right, please proceed.
Okay, the first one is, how do free will and a deterministic universe relate to each other? Science often rejects the existence of free will and arguing that everything is deterministic. How do we integrate these two perspectives?
As we have said, the soul lays out the life path and lays out the challenges and major experiences that you will experience on that life path. How you choose to interact with those challenges and experiences is up to the free will of the physical personality. The free will of the physical personality can control how you approach it, whether rapidly or slowly. The expansiveness of the experience in how many expressions of your passion do you interact with or express, the number of people you interact with on their life path, how you choose to affect them or be affected. All these things are in the domain of the free will of the physical mind. What has been predetermined is what the soul with its free will has determined are the challenges and experience that the soul has determined will help it learn and grow in the way that will add to the expansion of creation. So science is correct in one sense that an aspect of that is predetermined, but it's predetermined by the soul, not by materialism.
And how do we know if certain experiences in our lives are the product of free will choices, or have they already been set up for us by spirit?
Again, the spirit, the soul, has laid these things out. How you approach them is up to your free will. So it's not what it is, it's how you experience it that is determined by the free will of the physical mind. What it is determined by the soul.
Okay, and how are many are choosing to be left behind? Why?
It is not that they are, quote unquote, left behind. It is simply that their life path may be one where they have chosen to navigate in a different direction through a different series of parallel versions of Earth. So no one is left behind. We understand what you mean by that terminology, but all souls are eternal and infinite and make the determination for themselves as to what lessons they will choose to learn and when. So no one is ultimately left behind, but the soul can determine a different pace from someone else's life path. And it may appear as if they are left behind because they haven't necessarily caught up to the experiences of a different soul, but that doesn't mean that they won't at some point. But they have laid out what for them is the correct timing for these things based on the lessons that they have chosen to learn.
And since the formula is so crucial to people, moving into higher vibrational states, how come it's not more well known by other teachers, let's say on Earth?
In a sense, all the principles are well known. It's just that they are couched in different terminology due to the understanding or the languages of the time and the interpretations that humans may have had at those different times in history. So the idea of, say, acting on your passion has been described in many different ways of like living your dreams, following your bliss, living your truth, being your true self. Know thyself is part and parcel of examining your belief systems, letting go of the ones that don't work for you, facing your fears, facing your inner demons. All these are different ways of saying different aspects of the formula. It's simply that now in your modern vernacular, your modern time, we have brought them all together in a way that forms a clearer instruction manual for the understanding and the terminology that is relevant for your 21st century.
Okay. Do we volunteer to resolve physical ancestral trauma if we want to, while also experiencing our own individual soul lessons? Is there a connection between our physical bodies, family lines, and our individual soul lessons?
Not exactly, because every time that you incarnate, you are a completely different life path experience. So if there is something that might relate to the idea of something that may have happened back in history, in your family lineage. It's not because of what happened in the past. It's only because your soul in its present life path has determined that there is something about that that can serve as a lesson for the things that the soul wishes to learn in the present life. So it's not a direct connection, although the soul can certainly choose from being inspired by different things that may have happened in other incarnations or to other members of your soul family and utilize those inspirations in its present incarnation. But there's no direct connection.
Thank you. Next question. I do not believe I control everything in my experience. Some things I do, some things I don't. What is it that I do not control? I know that others' choices I'm not able to control, but aside from that, what else?
You are controlling everything that you perceive in the way that you perceive it, because the way you perceive it is perceived because of the choices you are making to buy into specific belief systems that color and filter the way you perceive everything you experience in your physical reality, including your versions of other people. You may not be controlling their choices, but you are controlling the way you perceive the choices that they are independently making because of what's necessary for your life lessons, what's necessary in your belief systems to perceive in that way. So you do control everything, including the belief that you don't control everything. You're controlling that.
If you are positively oriented, is there really any decision you could make that would be negative? Wouldn't the outcome be positive if the intent is? Even a mistake can be positive.
A mistake can be a lesson if you approach it in a positive way, yes. That doesn't mean you're not capable of choosing to act negatively. It's just that if you really are positively oriented, it's simply not a relevant choice to act in a negative way unless that negative mechanism has a positive intention and purpose. Again, we use the analogy that you have used a negative mechanism, so to speak, to focus your consciousness down into the experience of physical reality, but for learning lessons, which is a positive thing. So you can use negative mechanisms in a positive way, but the idea is that that will always be the case. It's about how you use things and what the ultimate intention is for why those things are chosen. So in a sense, the answer to your question is yes, but also you have to take it on a case-by-case basis for how you are using things, and are those things and the choices you're making truly in alignment with the idea of being a positive being and being of service to others in being your true self and standing in your truth as a living example to others of what they can also choose.
Okay, and you say we can't change what we don't own. Any feelings or thoughts we don't prefer, we have to own them. What if intrusive, unwanted thoughts or urges arise when I'm in the middle of doing something physical that requires my full attention, making me feel unable to deal with them in that moment? How do I integrate this?
This is a type of procrastination technique that comes from holding on to some negative belief about the self that makes it seem incapable of moving forward. And again, has to do with connecting to the fear of what will happen if you do move forward. So it's a hesitation mechanism that needs to be explored to find out what the belief is that would make one procrastinate by flooding oneself with all sorts of thought patterns that don't necessarily align with your preferred vibration. This is still the result of some belief within you that something might go wrong in even worse ways if you actually allowed yourself to move forward. So it is putting on the brakes, it is holding back for a reason. You need to find the reason, and that reason is usually that the alternative in some way, shape, or form is being defined by the negative belief and the story the negative belief is telling you as something that will happen even worse if you don't just stay where you are.
Okay, and the next question is, are we only thinking as long as we're physical?
You have a level of awareness when you are non-physical. It's not exactly thinking in the same way that you think as a physical being, because obviously it does not involve neurological pathways of the brain. But the idea is that your consciousness has awareness. To some degree, from the soul's perspective in non-physical reality, it can feel similar to the way that you are used to thinking in physical terms, but it actually will be sensed when you are in non-physical reality in a different way. You will simply know what you need to know when you need to know it, and it isn't so much the experience of the process that you relate to thinking as it is simply being aware of information more directly.
So, is part of the effect of the density of this reality that the thinking becomes so omnipotent in a sense in this reality to people? They're constantly wrapped up in their thoughts, thinking, Is this?
Well, the fundamental purpose is so that you can experience a process, so that you can experience the process of creation, the process of change, the result of the idea of making a choice and seeing how the mechanism plays out and unwinds in physical reality over space and time. But people can get caught up in that. They can have negative beliefs about that force them to have more of that process than may be necessary. This is why we originally gave you the threshold of believability test, so you can reduce the process that goes along with the idea of overthinking and reduce it enough so that you simply go through whatever process is truly relevant and necessary for you to discover the information that you need, rather than overcomplicating it.
So many times people will talk about meditation and their challenges in being able to stop their chattering mind. Is that actually the goal of being in a meditative state, or is that something that that approach to meditation obviously doesn't work for the person?
It's not even so much a matter of stopping the thoughts. It's a matter of aligning the thoughts in a very specific way with the true vibration of your soul, so that it doesn't feel like you're thinking in a physical way. This is what we were just describing. It's more about the idea of going into a state of being where you simply know what you need to know in that moment. And when you align the way you think with the way your soul perceives information, then it doesn't feel like thinking. It feels so effortless that, in a sense, what you're calling the chattering does stop. It doesn't mean that you're not thinking at all. It means that your thoughts are aligned vibrationally with the way your soul perceives things, so that thinking feels effortless and almost invisible.
Okay, that's good. I mean, because I think that opens up meditation to more people if they're not struggling with that issue.
Yes. One trick that can be used is to incorporate any outside sounds, any outside stimulus, or what you might have called a distraction or a thought intruding upon you, into using your creative imagination, incorporating it into the meditation exercise. That can start the idea of everything being used that is coming into your reality as some kind of a stimulus or apparent interruption, and learning to use it in a way that will actually create the flow ultimately that we're talking about. So it's not about shutting things out, it's about including everything in so it finds its place within the meditation, and then it can start aligning and become almost invisible, because it's creating a kind of a flow that is more effortless. Many people struggle because they try to shut everything out instead of finding imaginative and creative and inspirational ways of actually incorporating it into the meditative flow.
And in a sense, that is creating a state of allowance, because you're allowing everything that's happening to be part of what you're experiencing, as opposed to trying to assume that it's not supposed to be there and now you have to struggle with that,
Yes,
etc.
exactly. So you don't set up the challenge by accepting everything as part of the challenge.
And what is the purpose of fear? Does it have any protective qualities whatsoever? This person wants to let go of the belief that fear can help keep them safe, but they also carry a belief that being completely fearless could be dangerous.
Well, there are different types of fear, or different levels of it, or different reasons for it. Obviously, you have what is called a physical survival mechanism, so that you can feel a little bit of fear if you step too close to the edge of a cliff, let us say. So it can keep you safe in that sense by not doing things that would get you killed. But that's different than the idea of a fear that is connected to ideologies or beliefs. So the idea is that fear in that context can be considered a friend or a guide or some kind of a warning system that you are filtering and flowing your energy through a belief that's out of alignment with who you prefer to be. And using fear that way, on that level, that kind of fear, then can allow you to use it as a constructive tool to let you know when you are flowing your energy through a belief that is out of alignment with who you are, to put you in touch with it, to make you aware of the fact that you're doing that, so you can investigate yourself, find out what that belief is that you are filtering your energy through, and realize that it doesn't serve you to hold on to it, so you can flow your energy through a belief that is more in alignment with your soul, with your core vibration. So there are different types of fear that can be used in different ways for different purposes. One is more physically grounded and practical in keeping you physically safe, and the other has more to do with your belief systems acting as a guide and a system to warn you when you are out of alignment with who you prefer to be.
I know that another type of fear maybe would be related to the idea of people who live in the forest with wild animals. And they seem to have almost a sixth sense of when there is danger. Can you share with us a little more about that particular mechanism?
Well, that is what we were talking about in terms of the things that are inherent in your physiology that can pick up and sense certain vibrations that would be fundamentally incompatible with your physical survival. So, yes, you can call that a kind of fear, but it's more of a warning or sensing system that is extremely sensitized to vibrations that can recognize probability paths that wouldn't necessarily be conducive to thriving in physical reality.
Okay. Following the formula means that everything is the opposite of what many have been taught on planet Earth. Planning the future, looking to the past, worrying about what others will say. Are we meant to act in accordance to what people are supposed to think, or these ideas just seem very complex and confusing on one side, and yet there is this very simple formula on the other side?
It is a distillation of how things already work, simplified and free of all of the extraneous information that humans have piled on top of this concept. It is the spare skeletal structure instruction manual for how you're already creating your physical reality experience. So it is simply given to you as the formula to allow you to strip away all the extraneous information that can get in your way of utilizing it in a more conscious and aware way that will serve you in a positive sense.
Okay, and is it possible to stay in a state of neutrality when challenges arise? Or would you say challenges are thrown at us by our soul's choice, from the hallway analogy?
Well, yes, again, the soul lays out all the challenges. You can approach them to some degree with neutrality if that helps you at first. But generally, if you understand that challenges are for the purpose of learning lessons and your soul's growth, and you regard that as an exciting adventure and an exciting endeavor, then the neutrality that you may have begun with can actually turn into a joyful, exciting, and thrilling experience.
And do astrology, tarot, and other forms of premonitional card reading provide meaningful guidance, or are they just limiting beliefs?
They are permission slips, trigger mechanisms to allow you to give yourself permission to utilize your senses to stretch out, reach out, thinking that the cards are doing it for you, but it's an excuse aligned with your belief system that makes it seem easier for you to get in touch with your own abilities and expand your own abilities using the cards as a reason to do so. So this is why we call these things permission slips, because you use them to give yourself permission to be more of who you are. It's not necessarily limiting if you use it in an appropriate and positive way in service to others and yourself to learn to grow. But ultimately, what you learn is that you don't need those permission slips. You don't need the symbol. You ultimately gain enough practice using those devices so that you can simply tap into the things you need to tap into without necessarily using those props, shall we say.
And what is the purpose of this reality where, in general, people do not know what is true? That is what they deal with on a constant basis. Is many people say, oh, I know the truth, or I know the truth, but no one really seems to know what is true. So there's this constant state of not being sure or being wedded to some belief that gives stability.
Well, some of this has to do with a lack of what your people refer to as critical thinking. This is a lost art among many cultures on your planet now due to a variety of manipulations by others wishing to keep people ignorant and uneducated so that they can get away with certain ideas and schemes and control issues that they have about wanting to run things and control things. And so they have created different kinds of scenarios that deprive many people in your culture of the ability to look at situations in a way where they would be able to have the discernment and the ability to tell what is what and what is true from what is false. And when we talk about the idea on this level, we're simply talking about the practicality of being able to see physical reality and understand people's motivations for what they actually are. That would be the first step in regaining the idea of critical thinking and the ability to discern what you are calling truth from falseness, is look to the motivations, the character motivations of why people say what they say, do what they do, choose what they choose, and you will start to develop a better understanding of how to tell falsehood from truth. Look at the motivations.
Okay, thank you. Is the idea that life must be full of ups and downs a limiting belief, or is it possible to live in consistent stability?
Well, you can understand that change is the main constant in creation. If that's what you're referring to by ups and downs, you may simply need a better definition that works for you. Because there will be variety, there will be rises, and there will be falls in a sense of vibrational energy. There will be something that will fluctuate. But the idea of learning to use those waves of fluctuation can be the most stable thing. Look at this analogy that we have used before. Standing still in one place would seem on the surface to be the most stable thing you can do, but ultimately your muscles will tire of keeping you motionless. Walking is actually more stable, even though it may be the product of choosing instability temporarily between one step and another. It's almost like you're falling forward, but you're catching yourself each time by putting your foot out and connecting with the ground. So the idea is to understand how to look at the so-called ups and downs, again, as opportunities to learn something, to approach them with, as we have said, any challenge, calmness, confidence, curiosity, and creativity. And then, even though things may, in a sense, appear to be rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling, it's not just this kind of a pattern. It's this, where the down is still higher than the last down. And you rise higher and then come down, but the down is higher than the last down. So you are actually constantly rising. If you look at each challenge in a positive way as we've described it, that will be the effect. And you will not necessarily look at it in a negative definition of, oh, I am falling back down to where I used to be, because you never actually do.
And we're often told we can't have everything. If we are the whole and the whole is us, is it actually possible to have everything?
Well, let's finish that statement. It is absolutely possible to have everything you need, everything that fulfills you, everything that is the lessons you need to learn to move you forward, to expand and have a life of fulfillment and joy. You can have everything that's relevant for your life path. You can't have everything, because not everything is relevant for your life path, but you can have everything that's relevant, everything you truly need.
And is all pain resistance to the natural self? What if we physically injure ourselves playing a sport or physical activity?
In a sense, pain is the result of resistance to the flow of the natural self, the flow of the vibration of the soul. Now, we understand, again, like we gave an earlier analogy, that there are different kinds of pain. One that tells you that there may be something out of alignment with your physical body. Like you said, if you injure yourself, it's a signal to your brain that something needs to be taken care of, that something is out of alignment, something is injured, something is damaged and needs to be repaired. Nevertheless, there are those individuals, and even your body will do this in short order. There are those individuals that can go into an altered state and the pain can be shut down. And when you go into what you call shock, also your pain centers shut down so you can handle the situation, so you can deal with the situation. If the pain were constant, you wouldn't be able to deal with it. So the idea is, it's still a matter of resisting the natural self, but your body does go into more of an alignment with the natural self. You refer to this as shock, that alleviates the pain. And what's actually happening is, of course, you are releasing endorphins and you're going into a higher state, because in the channeling state, which is referred to as gamma, all the pain centers start shutting down. That's why when individuals are in a channeling state, they don't really feel anything that might be normally obtrusive or annoying to the body. So the idea is, yes, it's still a matter of resisting the true self, the natural self, but there are reasons for why a temporary amount of it may be necessary to alert you to something that you need to pay attention to. But then the body will shut the pain down so you can deal with it once you're aware of what the situation is.
And if all perspectives are equally valid, how do we navigate conflict safely? Can a perspective be valid if intentionally causes harm, like an abuser claiming they were forced to abuse someone? Or does it mean that we have to accept beliefs like women don't deserve equal rights as being valid? Where do we draw the line between respecting different viewpoints and rejecting ones that deny people's fundamental dignity?
When we use the word valid, we simply mean It is a real point of view based on real circumstances or real experiences that that person has gone through in their life that have brought them to this particular perspective. It doesn't mean that valid is used as a reference to the fact that it's aligned with their soul core vibration. We don't mean valid in that context, because it is not in alignment with the soul's vibration to be an abuser. It is not within the soul's vibration alignment to remove someone's dignity intentionally. So it's all about understanding how to use the word valid simply as a reflection of the fact that it is a legitimate journey that a person has taken to learn a soul lesson that has brought them to the perspective that they may be sharing, but that perspective may be out of alignment with their true core vibration, and therefore in that context is not necessarily to be condoned. We don't mean validation as condoning it. We mean validation as recognizing that there is an authentic journey there that has caused them to think this way, and that they, by investigating it honestly or being helped by others to investigate it honestly, can get in touch and come to terms with why that journey happened and extract from that journey the lesson that will actually allow them to raise their vibration and improve themselves, to expand, to grow, to learn those lessons in a way that is beneficial to all humanity. So understand again that some of the challenge here is in knowing that there are different ways of interpreting certain words in your language, such as valid, because it doesn't necessarily mean condoning what is out of alignment with the core vibration.
Would our spirit teams ever avoid answering questions that we ask? If so, what would be the reason for them doing that?
Well, there may be things that are not appropriate for you to know right now. You may be on a life journey or facing a challenge where they have to let you go through a process before you may be ready to receive certain levels of information. It's simply a matter of timing in most cases. They're not going to withhold anything that you truly need at that moment or is appropriate to give you in that moment. But you have laid out as a soul certain challenges on your life that also then set up a certain timing for discovering information that will allow you to grow and move forward. So your guides are not going to open your presents for you or spill the beans, as you say, before it's time for you to understand certain things that will actually help you grow in the way that your soul has chosen to do so. So that can be a reason why certain information may not be forthcoming at a certain time.
Okay. And this person had a childhood abduction dream that I will share with you now. They had a dream when they were a kid between the ages of 3 and 5 that they were being abducted by a gray. They lived in an apartment building, and he recalls looking through the window blinds, and then he was lifted out of his window and was looking at the window from the outside. And he saw his mother open the bedroom door with the hall light checking on him. And that's when he tried to reach out, but that's when he looked up and saw a gray. I was wondering if I was just dreaming this or if this event had something in my imagination and they could safely forget about it. They said they have never had other dreams like that, and they're 55 now.
This is a memory. The thing about it is many abductions are forgotten. They're made to be forgotten so you can get on with your life. And it may be that some of them are forgotten so effectively you don't even know how many encounters you may have had. But in many cases, the idea of the memories being available to you may come through in a dream first, so that you can pass it off as nothing more than a dream and don't have to necessarily deal with the implications so that they don't get in the way of your life path. So it is a memory of a real encounter, a real event, and came through in a dream state, so you could ignore it in a sense, but you have had more than one encounter. You are part of the hybridization program, whether you remember it or not. Eventually, it may be that these memories will come back to you in the future, especially after open contact, when you will feel that it is safer for you to know these things after you have been supplied with more information about the purpose behind the hybridization program and the idea of how it's connected to the evolution of humanity and your part in helping with that. So once that may be established in your mind and in your energy, you may start remembering more encounters that you've had. We'll see.
And what's the difference between soul and spirit?
Well, in one context, not very much really at all. The difference we have made, just to clarify things, is that the soul lays out the life path and the challenges, as we have said, creates the physical focus that manifests the physical personality and the physical reality that seems to be projected around you. Going through that experience kind of burns into the soul that particular personality, that particular experience as that person. And when that personality dies, in a sense, and goes back to being the soul, the memory of that experience, that specific incarnation, you could say then can be presented as the spirit of that life. So a spirit can be representative of a particular incarnational life path experience that is always then capable of being recalled by the soul in much the same way that you could say there's a difference between your adult mind and the child mind you had when you were growing up. You are no longer that child, but you can call upon that childhood experience as if you were still capable of connecting with that child. So you could say that the child memory is the spirit of the adult you have become, and it's within you and always able to be tapped into. So the soul is always able to tap into each specific incarnational experience. And for each incarnational experience and each physical personality, there is a spirit aspect to the soul that represents and symbolizes that incarnation. And that's the spirit that you're referring to. So the soul, in a sense, can be containing many different aspects of incarnational memories, and therefore, in a sense, different representations that can be called upon by the living. I want to talk to my Uncle Frank. Well, then the soul can project that idea of Uncle Frank as a spirit to that physical person to have something they can relate to. And that's the spirit of that incarnation. That's the spirit of that person. But it's still coming from the overall soul that that being actually is that had that incarnation.
Okay. This person had an experience recently when their cat died. Um, she transitioned into non-physical a few days ago, and I connected with her the night before she transitioned and held a frequency so she could let go of emotions she was holding on to. The night after she transitioned, I woke up feeling energy buzzing everywhere. I opened my eyes and saw energy everywhere for the first time. There was a ball of energy in Belita's, that's the cat's name, shape at my side. What can you confirm for me that this was my cat, and what message of love did she convey for me?
Yes, it's your cat. And the basic message is, hi, I'm still here. So you can connect. All you have to do is remember that particular incident and the feeling that went with it. And in that feeling state, you will be strongly connected to the cat because the cat's just in a different state. And you are always connected. It's part of your soul group. Just like any animal that you encounter in a meaningful way in your life is also, in a sense, connected to your soul group. So, yes, that was your cat. That is your cat.
Okay, I'm sure that person will be happy to hear that. Um, you say that we move through more lives, we ascend on the other side as we develop. Then you said, until you realize that you're the only one left. What does that mean? Will I absorb everyone else's consciousness? Will I then be alone as the only sentient being in existence, becoming God and starting this whole thing all over again? I don't want to be alone for eternity. I'm confused and honestly a bit terrified.
Well, that's because you're thinking of this concept from a human perspective in a linear space-time way. You're talking about things like for all eternity and starting all over again. It's just a way of understanding that creation is holographic and you can observe it from any point of view. In other words, it's another way of understanding that when people on your planet have said, well, ultimately you ascend and go back into and be absorbed by God, but that's not exactly what happens. It's not as if you lose your identity. What we're simply saying is, if and when such an experience happens, when you choose to have that experience, it's not that you lose your identity, it's that your identity is the only identity. In a sense, you see from the perspective of source. You are the source, but that doesn't mean it lasts forever. You can choose anything you want because you are source. So the idea is that look at it just as one experience you can have, one perspective you can have, the perspective of being source, and you can choose any experience from that point forward, just as source can experience anything that it is and any distinct individual that is a reflection of it. So stop thinking about this from a human perspective, from a linear perspective, and you won't have to be so scared. It's just one way you can perceive your identity as being source as opposed to being an aspect of source. It's not meant to confine you or trap you for all eternity being alone. You're just looking at it in too human a way.
Is that similar to the idea that you've described of how you can move up and down the timeline of your life at any moment and access information you have from when you are 150 versus when you were 10?
Yes, it's a simplistic analogy that has some merit and some application to what we just said, because it's simply like moving into different states and different levels with your consciousness, all the way from source down to whatever individual reflection you wish to experience. So, yes, all these things exist at once. No one is ever trapped for all eternity in one particular point of view.
Now, this question has to do with the idea of the soul being in bliss. And as you said, we are all souls.
Yes.
However, we are here on earth suffering through what the soul wants to experience.
Well, you don't have to suffer through it. That's the point. You don't have to suffer through it. You need to learn lessons for the soul's growth that you have chosen as a soul. But the idea is to learn to engage with these things in a positive way, not to suffer.
Well, because I think they're saying that it's sort of like the hardship and the difficulties that people experience here in pain and etc. And then that the soul is up there in 5D bliss having a great time.
No. The soul is not up there in 5D bliss. You are the soul. The soul is experiencing every single thing that you experience as a physical being. Every single thing. It's not like it's kicking back in a lounge chair while you do all the heavy lifting. You are the soul.
So I guess the idea is you have to get to the place where you recognize that you laid out certain things in your path here, that it's up to you to be creative, to have a positive attitude about them, whatever comes your way. And that knowing that if you stay in a positive state, you will get a benefit from it, regardless of what the intention of another person was or what you had set up as your soul.
Yes. There is a misunderstanding here because of the fact that humans are very used to the idea of separation. When we talk about the idea of the soul being in non-physical reality, and the physical mind being in physical reality, remember, we're not really describing two different places. Physical reality is happening within your soul. Your soul is still in non-physical reality, but physical reality is also in non-physical reality as an experience being created by you, the soul. So your soul is experiencing everything. Choosing to experience it in a more positive way is the challenge the soul has laid out for itself. So if you, as a physical being, are choosing to buy into belief systems that allow you to experience the idea of suffering, then you are suffering as a soul too. There is no difference. There is no separation. It's not like your soul is off somewhere else and your physical mind is in another dimension altogether. Yes, I understand we refer to those things differently as different dimensions, but these are euphemisms that are generated from the human perspective that things are actually separate, and they're not. So the ultimate truth is you are your soul, and your soul, you, is experiencing everything that you experience as the physical version of your soul. There is no separation. So choose to experience things in a more positive way, learn your lessons in a more positive way, and that's exactly what your soul will be experiencing. Remember, the idea is to stop thinking so much in separation and start understanding yourself as a whole being.
And this question is, why does God exist? Does the world really need a God? And if so, why?
Again, a very human question having to do with things like concepts of separation. Why? That which exists does not need a reason to exist. It just does. That's its nature. Asking why is nonsensical because there is no beginning to existence. There is no end to existence. Existence simply is in a constant state of nowness, of isness. There is no beginning. There is no ending. There is no birth or death to existence itself. It just is. And that is what all that is. If you want to call it God, goddess, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. Its fundamental nature is just isness. And it's not therefore that anything needs it. Nothing would exist without it because it is everything. So the why question is irrelevant because it doesn't apply to that which is. It just is.
So when you go to Earth School, as we are, and one of the biggest things you have to learn here is how to be creative enough to find positive meaning in everything you experience if you want to utilize the mechanisms of physical reality to have a more positive, beneficial experience.
Yes.
How does that relate to when you're in spirit? How do you utilize these things if in spirit you're in a constant state of bliss?
You utilize the experience to decide what lesson you're going to learn next in a different state. So you're learning experiences, you're learning lessons in those experiences, you're having experiences. You take those experiences all together to decide what you haven't yet experienced. So again, a crude analogy is like going to a theme park. You may decide to go on a roller coaster. You may decide to go on a merry-go-round. You may decide to go on something that swings back and forth. Now, having all of those experiences, you may now say, all right, all of those involved some sort of interesting motion, movement in space and time in a different way. But I've done all that, and having done all that, I am now deciding I would like something different because I now know what those experiences are like. So I'm going to apply the experience of movement through space and time and add another aspect to it. I'm now going to go on what you call a dark ride. And so I'm going to be moving, but I may be moving more slowly and having different kinds of experiences in the environment that is created within a dark ride that can be any number of things. It can be full of wonder. It can be full of chills and thrills. So I'm going to use my understanding of the experience of movement in space and time in the way that I already have done to add another aspect or another dimension to it and experience something different now that I understand what motion is all about. So it's sort of like that.
So essentially, growth and expansion is inherent in life. And that is what the soul and spirit and all of us fundamentally are programmed to do, is to grow and experience.
Well,
right?
yes, I wouldn't necessarily use the word programmed, but yes, the idea, of course, is that the pacing of that is up to you. That's again why we say you control the speed. That's one of the hows in terms of how you face your challenges. So you can take many lifetimes to do that, or you can do it in one lifetime. It's up to you.
Okay, so this person is saying that they find in their present happiness and gratitude, when they're experiencing that happiness and gratitude, the thought that the worst thing that could happen might happen comes up consistently. And that in their case, the life partner would die. That was what they were seeing as the big fear that came up.
Yes.
And they catch themselves during and after their meditations, recreating that moment, and they can't transcend the fear. So what can you suggest about this aspect of becoming more aware of the darkness and the light simultaneously and having big fears come up in the process?
We understand the emotion that goes along with that particular scenario as it has been described. Nevertheless, it's an opportunity to stretch your creative imagination into the understanding that everything is a spirit, a soul, and that even if a life partner were to transition into a non-physical state, even if they were to go home, as you say, you still have a line of connection. So we would suggest that while the partner is alive, practice in your mind, in your imagination, in creative ways, practice, visualize, entertain the idea that you can connect to your partner in spirit, to another member of your soul family, even if they choose to go back into the state of being you call spirit. Practice while they're alive, reaching out and connecting telepathically to them in that way so that you can develop skills and abilities more strongly that would allow you to know that even if they did choose to go back into spirit, you would still have an absolutely strong connection and communication with them so that you lose your fear of losing them. That's the thing to lose, is your fear of losing things.
And like this person is saying, what is the expansion of awareness really like? When we become more aware of the negative, does this mean that we'll be getting more and more negative choices shown to them more frequently because they're expanding? In other words, what are some of the things that you experience as you see more darkness in your expansion into the light?
Well, yes, you observe that there are just as many opportunities to choose the negative as there are the positive, but simply being shown that there are opportunities to do so has no effect on you if you don't choose them. So what if you get to see more of the darkness? You're just aware that more opportunities and more options are there. That doesn't mean you're forced in any way, shape, or form to experience them.
Okay.
That's like saying, oh, I'm looking at a set of coloring pens or crayons. And as I get a bigger and bigger set, as I buy more and more crayons, I'm becoming more aware that there are certainly a lot more shades of blue and a lot more shades of red, does that prevent you from still choosing the color you want? No. You're just more aware of what's there as a choice. So what?
So it's really what we're talking about is the fear coming up that expanding isn't going to be as great as you think it's going to be, and there might be all these challenges, and you're going to have to deal with your fears. So that can be a way of sort of procrastinating or not allowing yourself to expand because you've given a negative definition to the idea of
Exactly.
seeing negativity.
Exactly. But it's sort of just as, well, I'll just use the word comical as with the analogy I just gave you and saying, well, I'm seeing a lot more shades of red and a lot more shades of blue. What do I prefer? I prefer the shades of blue, or I prefer this shade of blue. Now it's like imagining, oh, but somehow something's going to force me to go over here and choose a red crayon when I don't want to. Why would that happen? Just choose the blue. You can be aware that there are reds to choose from, but if you prefer to choose the blue crayon, just choose the blue crayon. Being aware that there are more shades of red does not force you to choose a red crayon. It's that comical when you
Well,
talk about, I'm afraid that somehow I'm going to choose the red crayon. If for some reason you did, it would be because that's telling you you have a belief that makes it seem logical to do so and choose the red crayon over the blue one. But that should give you insight to the fact that you're holding on to a belief that doesn't work for you. So get in touch with that. Use it. Examine yourself. Know yourself. Find out why you would believe that that's true. And as soon as you really understand how nonsensical that belief is, just as nonsensical as saying, I am somehow forced to choose the red when I absolutely prefer the blue crayon, then you will no longer feel any impetus at all to choose what you don't prefer. It just won't make any sense.
So, as humans here, one person was saying that they feel like they're in a state of joy a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And they wanted to know if you can always be happy.
Yes.
And I'm going to segue in that question also to something you just said, where you talked about the library and how you can go into the library and check out. You can see all the books in there. It doesn't mean you have to check them out. Like, in other words, people get fearful of manifesting something negative if
All
they
right.
read about
Let's
something.
stop right there.
Okay.
Here's an addition to the analogy. Some people love sad movies, don't they?
Yes.
Don't they? They
Yes.
love to cry at sad movies. They love to cry at sad books, don't they? So finding a book that makes you sad so you can cry because you enjoy doing that, finding that book that made you sad made you happy, didn't it? So you can actually experience the idea of being happy that you have found something to make you sad because you're using it for a certain purpose, for a positive reason. Maybe going through that sad movie or going through that sad book is cathartic for you and allows you to release a feeling and experience an emotion in a safe environment. So there are circumstances where you can actually be perfectly happy being sad. So again, it depends on what you're doing with it, why you're using it, how you're using it. So it's not so black and white. It's many shades of gray.
Okay, well, that's so helpful. And we're running out of time now, but I'd like to leave it to you to share whatever you'd like before
All
we
right.
move on to the meditation.
Again, we remind you, this is the silent season. And it is time for you to go within and prepare. Just prepare yourself. Follow the formula. Do what you wish. or curl up with a good book that either makes you laugh or makes you cry. It doesn't matter. But this is all about really going through a time of quiet reflection, solitude, in a way that allows you the time to look within, whether it be meditation, whether it be thinking about things, whether it be preparing. It's all preparation. If you aim it that way, if you vision it that way, it's all preparation for what's coming up. Because next year, after this silent season, is the year of disclosure, as we have said. And the year of disclosure is not only about extraterrestrials and UFOs or UAPs, it's all about the releasing of secrets, the exposing of secrets. So prepare yourselves, clarify yourselves, let go of things that don't work for you, let go of things that are consequential secrets. It doesn't mean you have to reveal those secrets to anyone. It's all about just simply stopping the behavior and moving into a new state that allows you to understand that the closer you get and the farther you get into the year of disclosure, that there will be a momentum and an inertia and an impetus for all things that are held secret to come to the surface, to come into the light. So clean out your attic so that when the light comes through the window, you can allow yourself to feel that that space is exactly what it needs to contain. No more, no less, so you can move forward with clear energy, clear sight, so that you can become more open, more available, and more vibrationally compatible with what is going to happen with all of your connections to extraterrestrials, all of your connections to spirit, more effortlessly, more easily, more openly. Use the silent season to prepare for the year of disclosure. You can begin to practice with the meditation that is connected to this transmission. Carry through into your new year, into your holidays, your holy days, and your new year as a new you, clean, clear, open, ready and willing to receive, ready and willing to be your true self, the self that allows you to feel energized, not tired, not exhausted, not overwhelmed, but free. Free to truly focus on what is important on your life path that your soul, that is you, has laid out. Let go of all the things that would anchor you to the past, chain you to a reality that will no longer work in the year of disclosure and the year of open contact thereafter. So at this point, relax, let go of the cares of not only the day, but of the year. Be in the silent season of rejuvenation and rebirth. Breathe deeply and enjoy your meditation. All right, so allow yourselves now at this time to become very relaxed, deep breathing, gentle, rhythmic breathing. Allow yourselves to let go of the cares of the day and allow yourself to drift into a relaxed, meditative state. If you wish, you can use a candle so you can look at the flame, or simply a soft light of some form. Focus on it. Don't make it blinding. just soft, like a nightlight. Focus on it and allow yourself to begin to open your mind to the following image. Now, whether you literally can visualize this or not is not important, because you're going to be closing your eyes, allowing the candle flame or the nightlight to gently move through your eyelids so you know there is still a light on in the room, even though your eyes are closed. But internally, you can still see the light, still know the light is there. Still imagine or visualize it to the best of your ability. And as you allow yourself to begin to allow this image to form in your mind, either literally or just knowing that this is happening energetically, it doesn't matter. If you cannot visualize it, it doesn't matter. Just know that it's happening energetically. So one way, shape, or form, while you're still knowing that the light is there, illuminating this scenario, imagine 9 cubes. They can be made out of anything. They can look like anything, but 9 cubes scattered around in different directions. Allow yourself to let them coalesce, again, either visually or energetically, just knowing that they're there. Feel them being there. Sense them being there if you cannot see them in your mind's eye. Just know that they are there. Collections of energy in cubic form. Slowly allow yourself to exercise your intention to bring the 9 cubes together so that they are touching one another, forming a square, connecting to one another on their sides in 3 rows of 3. 3 rows of 3, so that they become one square. They're still individual cubes. You can still see the separation between them, but allow them to come together to touch so that they form a square of 3 rows of 3 cubes. Now, allowing that square to still exist, duplicate it on top until you have another 9 cubes on top of the first row of 9 cubes, and then another on top of that. So now you have a larger cube made of 3 rows of cubes in each direction. So now you have 3 9s, 27 cubes. 27, 7 plus 2, still 9. So now you have a larger cube made up of 27 smaller cubes, 3 rows in each direction. Larger cube, 27, 7 plus 2 is 9. And this represents the coming together and the ending of one cycle, 9 being the number of completion. Allow yourself to know that as you move in your meditation these cubes together and then stack them in the way that we have just described, you are bringing all the elements together that are necessary for disclosure and open contact to more easily and effortlessly occur in your reality. You are creating a crystal of disclosure, a crystal of open contact made out of 27 smaller cubes. 7 and 2 equals 9, so that you arrive at the number of completion of a cycle, which implies the beginning of a new cycle in your year of 2026. 2025 is at an end. The old cycle is at an end. You are now transitioning into a completely new cycle by bringing all these elements together, stacking them in the way that they're all connected to represent the completion of all the elements necessary, bringing them all together so that you can move them forward into the next cycle in a way that will allow all the divisions and separations between all the small cubes to vanish, so that it becomes one larger cube, coherent, cohesive, one larger cube that represents the beginning of a new cycle that contains the ability for disclosure and for contact. So you are transitioning through this image, building up this cube out of smaller cubes that are still separate, and then literally in your mind's eye, moving them through an energy barrier into the new year of 2026 and seeing all the divisions between the cubes vanishing. It's melding together, it's welding together, it becomes one cube. The new cube of the new beginning of the new cycle of disclosure and open contact. You are crystallizing that reality in this meditation. By gathering up all the elements that you have now experienced in the old cycle, putting them all together rather than having them be scattered, collecting them, building them, crystallizing them, and binding them, and moving them through that reality barrier, through that glass wall, merging through it, whether it's made of glass or energy or light, doesn't matter, moving that cube through it until it is fused into one solid cube and starting that cycle anew as a larger cube that contains all the elements necessary in its form for the manifestation of disclosure and open contact in the next couple of your years. Meditate on this in the morning, in the evening, whenever you wish. Repeat this meditation. Build that cube. Gather those elements. Move them through the barrier from one reality to another. Start anew the new cycle with that new cube that contains everything necessary for the effortless flow of manifestation that will bring about more information in disclosure, more experiences of UFO sightings, more releasing of information from various individuals who now feel empowered enough to come forward with their stories of contact, of sightings, of knowledge, to share with the public, to infuse the public with this information, with this knowledge, to grow in your hearts, your minds, and your souls more awareness of our existence. We've always been here. Become aware of that. Become more awake to that. Become aware of yourselves as members of a galactic family. Slide that cube through the barrier to a new reality of openness, understanding, kindness, beauty, knowledge, awareness, service, love, and light. Let it grow. Let this cube be the new seed upon which the new reality will take its cue, will pattern itself. Plant the seed and let it grow. And let it create more versions of itself to form the next level of all the cubes necessary that will spread throughout your society and allow different people from different areas to come together with their knowledge, to release that knowledge, to release that information, to not keep it hidden now. Let it be the time when we extraterrestrials also know it is time for you to know the things you need to know to allow disclosure and open contact to occur, to blossom and bloom in your society, to transform your society into its full potential over time. Meditate on this, breathe on this, breathe it into being with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every thought, with every feeling.